I am going to add this into the unit. I just found this really cool way of gridding a photograph online that's going to make things really easy, because the hardest part of drawing your gridded photograph is actually drawing it out and spending the fact that it's extremely time consuming. But if you get the grid wrong, it's not going to be accurate. If you get the grid right and you figure out how to follow it, it's going to be really accurate. So it makes drawing a lot easier, just not just still super time consuming. But if you get the grid wrong and do the math wrong, it can be a problem. And so I found this really cool online tool. It's timgagnon.com/grid/, and I'll put that in the YouTube, and I'll put that in the YouTube comments, and I'll put that on Discord for you guys, and in the unit on Blackboard as well. So what you're going to do first, after you go there, you're going to go do orientation and canvas size. So you're going to be drawing on an 18 by 24 paper. So I know I want to do a portrait orientation. That's portrait, like it's up and down, versus landscape, which is across, not you're doing a portrait versus you're doing a landscape. You might want yours landscape direction. So then I'm going to go to 18 by 24, which was one of the pre-selected sizes that they have because it's a really common one. Now we're going to go and upload my photo that I took. And I had to change it to a JPEG. So if you have an Apple phone, you're going to have to do that. An iPhone. What am I, 100? An Apple phone. One of those newfangled Apple phones. So here you are. So we're going to go to the next step. And there's my picture. Now I'm a little confused because I think they did it. It is right side up, but I think that they did it for a landscape, and I thought I put in portrait. But let's just see what happens. I can always go back. Nope. Okay, cool. So now it's going to let me crop it, which is one of the coolest things, because you might be able to figure out how to take the size of your photo and translate it into the number of squares that you need for your grid. But I want this to fit on an 18 by 24 paper no matter how I crop it. So I'm going to be able to crop it. Okay, so yeah, so if I want to, I'm not sure, I might leave this weird stuff up in the corner, but let's see what we could do if we wanted to. Like I could crop in a little bit. I'm asking, I'm not sure, do I want to draw that hand or do I just want to like do my head? Maybe we'll do I want this to be life-sized or bigger, so maybe we'll just go like super big and make it crazy. And then there we go. And it's maintaining the proportions for you. So it has to be 18 by 24. Now I want it super big, but I don't want that line right under my chin. That's nuts. So we're going to go here. It's just like a bad, and I'd like to be a little, yes, that's how I want it. I want to have a little room because I'm looking this direction. So I'm making that compositional choice to leave just a tiny bit more room on that side so that it doesn't feel like I'm like looking off the page. I guess I'm looking out at us, but just because my face is turned that direction. So now we have the next step, and now I've already prepared my paper, so I want I want a thin line thickness, because you could change that if you want to. I'm going to make my line color hot pink so it doesn't get in the way. You can make it whatever you want, but I'm going to make it kind of hot pink, I think. Make it like this bright reddish pinkish. I'm going to keep it thin, and I'm going to keep it 1 inch apart because I have drawn a grid on every inch on my piece of paper, which you'll see in a minute. But you can make it bigger if you want to. Let me just explain it. Like it's a lot to draw this much of a grid, like 1 inch apart, but it's going to be easier to draw because you'll have more like smaller abstract pieces to deal with. So 1 inch is best. So I'm going to download to save my finished product. Cool. And let's see what we've got in my download folder, grid final. And actually I'm going to set it up so we can see this on the demo screen too, or just on the demo screen too. Maybe we can just do it like this. Okay, so I'm going to add a picture. Hold on. So now I'm going to show you what I have here. So this is my grid. I know you can't really see it all this direction with this webcam, but you can see that I have taken and marked off every inch. And every inch across here is 18. There's 18 of them. Every inch across here, there's 24 of them. And I have marked off the whole thing. I used my really good ruler. I made sure everything was really straight, and my ruler goes all across this way. I had to kind of do a halfway line here and then draw from here to here and then from here to here to get the lines going the 24-inch direction. And so this drawing is also going to be with pencil. And so what we're going to do here, oh, you see the not gridded version right now, and it's let me see. We're gonna need that for the next drawing. We don't really need that right now, so I am going to turn that off for the time being and add in another image for us, which is going to be the one with the grid on it. So just 1 second, and I got that. Add image, add new. Okay, you're not seeing me do this, but I'm just telling you what I'm doing. I hope everybody's having a really good day today. Okay, here we go. That should work. And here we go. So you probably don't need to see it this large. There we go. Cool. All right. So here we have it. And I need to be looking at the actual image on my screen because that's too small. Okay, so you have your gridded photograph and your paper that's gridded. And then what, right? I mean, that's the main thing I wanted to show you, but I also want to show you how to approach it in the sense that there is really a better way and a worse way. I'm going to start so you can see the top of this. It's tempting to now go in and try to draw the whole thing like with big arm movements the way that we always would. It's tempting to say, like, it's tempting to just kind of try to sketch it out, but you will have problems that way. I don't know if that's the right way of putting it, but there will be problems if you do that, because you have to be super careful to do it that way. I mean, well, you do anyway, but like you're still gonna have to count constantly to see where you are. Like, let's say I want to start with the eye. Well, it's I have to count from the top, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I start to lose track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down, and then 1, okay, 2 over. I can start to see like a little edge of the eye here. So you can kind of do this, but you can see you're not going to be able to do like a quick gesture where you draw out the whole thing. What I'm suggesting is that you try to take each piece as a separate piece. Like literally try to, I'm going to start there because we already figured out where we are, but try to draw through as an abstraction. And this part, I was thinking that's where the eye starts, but if you just draw that part of the square, you don't even see the eye. It is extremely that, like, you see the corner of the skin around the eye, and the words, as I'm saying them, like the words are the problem. And I don't know if I've stressed this enough, but you really need to be like, for perceptual drawing, you need to try and think of things in terms of abstraction, light, dark, and shape, and not think of it in terms of anything else. Like, I don't want to think like, I don't want to use words at all, which is hard for me. I'm a very wordy person, but words are going to get in the way. If I start thinking of, oh wow, you can't even see what I was drawing, and I apologize for that. Or can you? Can you see this? Oh yeah, maybe you could. Okay, so what I'm doing right now, I am shading as I go. And I think that's what I was trying to get across a few minutes ago, is if you do square by square, you do have to be very careful that you're on the right square. But if you do square by square, you can shade as you go and think about it 100% in terms of the shapes that you see. And in the end, that's actually going to go better for you. That's the experience that I've had, because you can otherwise like easily think, oh, the eye's in that one, and then forget and just start drawing the eye the way you see it. And instead, I'm drawing this value, and I'm like, okay, and I can get as detailed, and that's why I put the word photorealistic next to this one. I don't expect you to be entirely, a photorealist is a hyper realist. We're not looking for perfection here, but you can get a lot further with tiny little details by using this method. So if tiny little details are something you're interested in, then this is the time to go for it. This is the time to say, you know what? I'm going to draw those tiny little details, because usually the biggest problem with drawing tiny little details, or starting with tiny little details, is that you get them out of proportion, and you've spent all this time on tiny little details, but nothing's in proportion. And so this is the opposite of what I'm going to be doing in the next drawing. When I start the charcoal drawing, then I'm going to start with a gesture. Then I'm going to start with from the idea of from general to specific. So I'm going to work super generally, and I don't know if I'm going to even get to any little eyebrow hairs, but because that's what I'm seeing in this square, and I'm doing it square by square, then I can do that. And I can pay attention to value right away too. There's like a little bit of a light on the background is kind of like a medium tone right here. And I'll go back and adjust stuff, after I do this part. But the background again is, a medium tone. Oh, now I see where I am. It's so easy to get lost. You can also label, if you can figure out how to, like, if I printed out this grid, I would probably label letters one way and numbers the other, so that I don't have to count every single time. Once you get going, of course, you see things in relationship to each other. But see, I can look at all the little details, and I can say, like, okay, at this corner, that's where the skin, and let's just look at a little triangle, but there's an eyebrow that goes almost like all the way, like I don't, like halfway up this square, because this is a really, I have very small eyebrows, but it's taking up a really good section of this part of the drawing, because I'm enlarging this drawing so much, right? This is going to be a huge head in both of the drawings. So, and I know there's a little highlight right here too that I might miss later if I'm looking at it overall. I might want to get out my you have those erasers with that you can erase out little highlights with. I might want to find that if I keep going with this. So that is basically the idea there. I think I'm going to move on. Once I start drawing, I don't always want to stop, but I think I'm going to move on to the other drawing. Just know that this type of drawing, that you go square by square like this, it takes a long time, a really long time. And you can know when you're, 50% done, because you'll have 50% of the squares completely finished and all put in. And you can see just, I mean, I haven't been on for too long drawing, but I'm not doing a very complicated part, and I'm still, it's taking time. So if you're going to do this, the great part about it, I mean, I really think there's an advantage to trying this, because you can see how accurate you can get, and you can focus on how to shade and how to draw, how to draw specific things without really worrying about proportion, because if you can follow the method, the grid actually takes care of that for you. But then you're also going to be spending a really long time on an eyebrow. And believe me, there are harder things to draw than an eyebrow.